Greetings, friends, and so happy that you have joined us for another special episode of Let's Talk Travel. And a special welcome to you if you're catching us on an instant replay and couldn't join us live. We're happy that you're out there as well. I'm very happy this evening to be welcoming our clients, Dale and Angelica Wolf. And they're going to be sharing with us about their recent trip to Croatia. They did a land-based journey, and I am so excited to join them since I rather unexpectedly was following kind of in their footsteps on an unexpected trip that I did on my own. So welcome to you, Dale and Angelica. So glad that you can join us this evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Welcome to Let's Talk Travel. My friends, we're going to just start off with a quick overview of the trip. Would you say that Croatia lived up to your expectations?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
I thought we've traveled pretty extensively in Europe, and Croatia, I think, turned out to be maybe our favorite place in Europe that we have visited. It exceeded my expectations, really. The people were extremely friendly. Travel was very easy. Everybody speaks English. And if you're, bilingual like Angelica, it's probably less important. But for somebody like me who speaks mostly just English, it was great. And food, the accommodations, everything was wonderful.
So I am glad, and that was certainly the case with my trip. I mean, my expectations were minimal. It wasn't on my bucket list, and I thought it was magical. As with so many destinations out there, there are a lot of different ways that you can approach a trip like this. And you guys opted to do land-based throughout the trip. And there are options to suit moderate budgets and luxury budgets. And you guys definitely went with the more upscale model of that. And so that always adds to the mix when you have some budget that you can work with. But let's just break it down and talk about your trip. Start with your itinerary. What cities did you visit?
Well, we landed the Zagreb, I think.
Zagreb was where we started our trip.
Yeah, I'm trying to
which is the capital.
Yeah, get the pronunciation. From there, we went to Split. Then we went to
Dubrovnik.
Yeah. Then we went across to Monte Carlo.
Montenegro.
Yeah, Montenegro. Sorry, Montenegro. See, my names are not there 100%. And what were the last stop?
We had to fly through Spain just for our itinerary, so we ended up going through Madrid, going and coming. So we took a little bit of extra time in Madrid, but in Croatia, mainly the three cities, and for 11, 12 days like we did, I think that was plenty. It gave us time to really get to know each one of the cities and what they had to offer. So Zagreb, Split, and Dubrovnik.
That was your main itinerary.
Correct.
The hotels, as with all of our trips, pretty much are custom picked to suit your preferences and your travel style and budget. How were those accommodations?
They were wonderful. In the capital, the hotel where we stay, apparently it was a part of the Polar Express at some point, the Orient Express. And in the past, and I heard about the Orient Express for so many years in my life, and I always connected it to Christmas, but it turned out that this hotel was an actual stop back in the day. Maybe still is, I don't know, but it was beautiful. The food was excellent. The service was top notch.
Yeah. Yes, it was. The first hotel was what you think of when you think of a very classic European hotel that was, I think it was built in 1925 as a stop for the Orient Express. The It was really near the old train station. So it was a historic area. And the hotel, even though it had been recently remodeled, it was lovely. And food, service, everything was really wonderful.
It really, I
Yeah.
happened to stay at that
Yeah.
same hotel on our trip when we did our trip in Zagreb, and it's beautifully located. It couldn't be really any better located, I thought. And just, yes, it's been remodeled, but they managed to retain all of the charm and the elegance that would be appropriate for a
It
property like
was very centrally located too. We did a walking tour of the city our first full day in, and we were very able to easily walk from the hotel into the city center and then up into the two upper parts of the city, visiting shops, restaurants, uh, the farmers market, some of the historic churches. The hotel was just in an excellent location. If you like to get out and stretch your legs a little bit, it couldn't have been better.
And in last, the staff was very formal, and I might say I really enjoyed it. It was very formal.
Yeah, we had wonderful
Yes,
treatment.
absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. And what about accommodations in your other stops when you were in Split and Dubrovnik?
The hotel in Split was really just, it was very nice, but it was kind of more of a hotel. It was just a place to go and sleep. There wasn't a whole lot of history or special accommodation, but it was comfortable. It was very clean, and the staff there were super. So we had a great time in Split, and we really spent little time in the hotel there because you really are getting out and visiting the countryside. We went on a full day excursion while we were there, and then in Dubrovnik, I think that might have been the highlight for
That's
us.
probably was the best of the three in many different aspects.
The Grand Villa Argentina.
Yeah, it was not only beautiful, the view to the Adriatic Sea was just fantastic. The view to the old city was just an incredible view. It was almost like really being on an old mansion, very elegant.
We had a wonderful balcony
Yeah.
with beautiful Moorish arches. Our room was quite large, and there was a very nice sort of living area in the room that we were able to use to relax after we'd been walking all day. And
It was,
so,
and it was within walking distance to the old city, which that's where most people want to see.
the Victoria restaurant at the hotel, we ate there twice, and we normally don't eat at the hotel. We go and look for, what is the really great restaurant. That is the great restaurant. And I would say I had two of the best meals I've ever had in my life at that restaurant. And I don't know if I've ever had a finer serving staff. They by the end of the evening, they knew us, and when we showed up the next time, they were asking us specific questions. You could tell they had listened to everything they had asked, and they were buying us drinks, and it was quite a nice experience.
The
Oh,
second
great.
night, they knew what we had ordered the night before.
Yeah, they knew it.
So it was very detail oriented.
Yeah.
They get to know their clients very well.
I actually stayed at that hotel as well. I didn't have a balcony room, but I did stay there at the end of our tour as well. And it again, the charm and the elegance, it just is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's built into the side of basically a mountain there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You come in on like level 6, and then you go down to go to.
I remember that.
Yeah, that is so
Confusing.
kind of a different experience because you're coming in on an upper floor.
But
which
you
is
have
nice.
an unrestricted view of the sea and the ships coming in and the old city, and that was quite nice.
Yeah.
That image that I was showing just a minute ago, is actually, I think you said you took that right from your balcony, the city, the old.
Yes. No, that one actually was, I think, from right beside the hotel.
Okay.
That was actually from the street as we were walking to the old city. But you had a great view of the old city right from our balcony. Yeah.
Just amazing, amazing, and excursions. We had, you guys stayed busy. We had arranged a ton of mostly private excursions that were geared to your specific interests, and so a lot of day trips. How did those go? Or any that stood out as a favorite?
Well, so Croatia for me, actually, it was on my bucket list for several years.
She's the one who was
Yeah.
pushing for us to go there, and
I keep telling Dale, we gotta go see Croatia. We gotta go see Croatia. And I'm so glad that I insisted upon, because not only is that it's beautiful and everybody speak English, but everybody has a lot of pride about their culture and about their food. And they're very interested about not only learning about other nations and their clients, but they want to tell you their history. And it's this pride that you don't see anywhere else around the world. There is only few countries that they want to stay their country. And excursion wise, my favorite probably was the old city, because it was very impressive.
you're talking about Dubrovnik.
Dubrovnik.
Yeah.
The old city on Dubrovnik. It was just absolutely gorgeous.
Dubrovnik is, for the first time, somebody who goes in, it's shocking that you have a medieval city with stuff from the 11th to the 17th century that is in perfect condition. And people are still living there and working there, and restaurants there, and churches there, and private residences there. Usually medieval cities that you visit are in ruins, and this is just the opposite. So that was quite something. My favorite trip was one that we did to Krka Waterfalls. We started early in the morning with a private driver who picked us up at our hotel. Every time they were very punctual. They were there probably 5 minutes early at the least. And so we went out. The driver had refreshments for us in the car. It was a late model Mercedes. It was quite comfortable for the day, and drove us up into the country to this town of Skradin, which is on the Krka River. And Skradin is as far as people can bring their yachts up from the sea. So there were the marina there is one of the nicest I've ever seen. It was full of beautiful yachts. I think they told us that Bill Gates' yacht had just been there, and it was
A lot of celebrities go there.
yeah, it was quite beautiful because it's easy to navigate up the river that far. Then you get on board a ship, and they take you a little further up the river to right where the waterfall is, and you spend a few hours, or just walking around the waterfalls, and they're lovely. There's many of them. They step up through the countryside there, so you can walk quite a ways. And when we came back after that, we made a trip higher up into the country, further up the river, and we had lunch at a winery, and another one of the best meals I think we've ever had.
Yeah.
They did an 8-course lunch with wine pairings, and each time they brought a course out, which was usually a very small plate of something, they poured you a glass of wine. So after about the third glass, we had to really pace ourselves and just have a few sips of the different wines for the rest of the day.
They have wonderful regional wines, and
all local. Everything local right there. And Croatia is quite the wine country now. But when we finished, and we went to a monastery that was in the middle of the river, that was really special. That was it was so unexpected, and it was really beautiful. The island itself is, kept very tidy and groomed by the people that live there. And there aren't many people on the island. I think less than a dozen. But it was nice to be able to go there. It was like having a little private park to walk in for the afternoon. Um, as we were heading back to Split that day, we were passing something called Cliff's Fortress, which is just outside of Split. And Angelica said she would like to see it, and our driver just said, "Fine, I'll take you there." And he took us up there and waited for us while we spent about an hour walking around the Cliff's Fortress.
And that was not part of the tour.
No,
but he was very nice to let me have that opportunity to go there of the schedule. It was very nice. Everybody was very nice.
I think if we ever did it again, we would do the same thing, just private tours. You could leave when you wanted to. He made it very clear at the beginning of the day, this is all about you. Whatever you want, you tell us and we'll make it happen. And boy, they did. It was wonderful.
Right. That is the beauty of the custom tours and the private tours and private drivers, because it is all about you, and you can customize those. And a lot of times you don't know the local secrets. I mean, you may have read about the highlights, but these drivers and guides, they know the charming little places that are way off the beaten path that really the average person never gets to see. So you had that experience of
it was great. It was wonderful. And they were the travel provider for that day. I was very happy with the job that they did, and all of them were good. But they really stood out as my favorite tour.
Wonderful. So we've touched on this. I think you have mentioned at least four different meals that you categorize as memorable. So Croatia is a destination for foodies. Really?
Oh, I would think so.
I would think so.
They've got incredible seafood, and their traditional dishes are good. One dish there that we had at the first hotel in Zagreb is called strukli. And strukli is kind of a national dish, but you don't see it much around the coast. It's more up in the country.
Yeah, there's definitely different areas. The inland area is very different from when you get down to the coast, which is much more of a Mediterranean climate and feel. So very different.
On the first hotel, I always heard about truffles, but I never tried them before. I don't think that we can find them here where we live.
You have them in dishes, but this is a little different. Croatia is known for its truffles.
So it was delicious. And I grew up in Mexico, so I used to a lot of spices and a lot of flavor. And their flavors were very rich, not neutral. It was not a lot of spices, but it was very rich. You could really taste the truffles, even though they were mixed on the pasta. You could really taste them, and it was just good.
Everything was really good.
It was a great experience.
The Hotel Esplanade, they have that restaurant you spoke about. That's a Michelin rated.
It was a Michelin starred restaurant, and the meal was outstanding. And it's also where we had breakfast every morning, and breakfast every day was much better than your normal breakfast fare at the typical American hotel.
Holiday Inn Express or something.
Well, yeah, a lot better than that.
Yeah.
So I'd say a destination for foodies for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I found that even the simplest foods, the melons, the vegetables, and oh my gosh, the olive oil that I came home addicted to. Who knew? I didn't even realize that there could be such a difference, but it really is. So that's good to know. Definitely what the foodies, definitely people who are the wine aficionados, the active, you've talked about the active adventurers. people who are photographers, scenery type things.
The scenery is
Mhm.
breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's very mountainous. Um, when you come out of the north, headed toward the coast, it's very mountainous. You pass through several different regions and climate zones. Um, it goes from very green and wet in the north to a very semi-arid toward the south and Mediterranean, and lots of very rugged coastline. So it's great for hiking. You're just going to have views at every corner. It's a great place to go hiking, and if you love history, um, a lot of times you go on a trip in Europe and you go from one cathedral to another cathedral to another cathedral. Here, I found it very, very different. There were some beautiful churches we visited, with no doubt, but um, there were also like the Palace of Diocletian in Split. There's a temple to Jupiter that's still standing there intact that you go into, not just the ruins of one. His tomb is still there. The
I thought
remains.
I thought I had saved one of the, but I apparently didn't get it downloaded into the system because
It
I thought
just
I had the palace in here,
the
but I don't.
history that you're going to walk through, the little island of Trogir, which is right close to Split. Um, you're everything there is 14th to 17th century.
That was actually one of my favorite places, that little
We liked it too.
village.
We wished we'd spent a whole day
Yeah.
there. I think walking, there was just so much to see, and I will say this, that one tour that we did that I probably would not do it the same way again. We did Trogir, Solana, and Split all in one tour for the day, and that was way too much. Solana is a fourth century or AD town. The ruin, and that's just ruins there, but um, it. I think you could spend half a day there with no problem. Trogir, I think you could just go and spend a day walking through that city and having your lunch and maybe even a dinner there, and it'd be wonderful. And Split is too large to see in a day.
Yeah, it's too large. You need more time in a Split. And on the first stop, and I'm not good
You
with,
thinking of Plitvice Lakes?
no, the when we went to see the barriers, that first stop, Solano.
Solana,
Okay.
yeah.
We actually um, we actually had the opportunity. We ran into some kind of archaeologist. He was,
An archaeologist
yeah,
that's doing a dig there
he
with a
would,
bunch of
yeah,
students.
they were doing a dig, and so we stopped by just to say hi, and they actually offer us coffee. I asked him if he could let me see some of the findings, and so he took the name away, but he actually let me see some of the findings that they were doing there. There were some Americans volunteering that dig, and I really enjoyed it. It was unexpected.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
pulled out some coins that they had dug out of the ground and put them in her hand. You know,
Wow.
coins from the third century, early fourth century AD,
Yeah.
and they just took 30 minutes out of their day and told us all about what was
Right.
going on there. That was very special.
Absolutely.
That is just, it sounds like you just came home with so many memories
Memories.
and unique experiences from this trip. What would you say was the biggest surprise? What was unexpected?
To me, it was very unexpected that they all spoke English, because I did not know that it was sort of mandatory to take it on middle school. So everybody speaks two languages. Some of them spoke three. So I was very surprised by that. And also just the friendliness of people. Sometimes you travel to other European countries and people are not as friendly. They're
Mhm.
probably just tired of the tourism. But these people were just very proud to show you the country around. Very, very friendly, very eager to learn about your culture and where you were from.
I agree. I think I think we've had good experiences everywhere we've traveled, just to be honest. But folks here are a little different. They're just a little more engaging. They're very open. Um, you know, they don't seem to see you just as a tourist. They see you as a person, and they want to get to know that person. So we felt like that was a big part of our trip that we'll carry with us. One of the things that surprised me a lot, you know, Croatia, basically, they just came out of a war in the mid 90s. And so I kind of had held off thinking about going to Croatia when I would think about Europe, because I figured, well, you know, it's probably a lot of war damage, and, you know, the economy probably isn't going so well. You know, people are trying to get back on their feet. And that was absolutely a complete wrong impression on my part. Croatia is maybe as well as any European country I've ever seen. They've managed to find the balance between the old and the new. You know, everything's modern and convenient and clean
Very clean.
in the country. And
safe.
yes, very
Crime
safe.
rate very low.
No, almost no crime. But the medieval and the ancient, they've preserved, and they've preserved their culture. In fact, we were talking to one of our tour guides, and I told him that so far we've liked everything about it except that they invented the necktie. And I was going to hold it against them for that, because I've been wearing one for 40 years. But anyway, we had a wonderful time.
It's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Yes.
It really is.
Now, I would caution people that it does help if you have a certain degree of fitness when you go to Croatia, just because you have cobblestones and hills and steps everywhere. But you know, I have this bad ankle and some back issues, so there were some things that I didn't actually participate in during my trip, but I would go again any time because it did not hamper my enjoyment. But if you want to fully participate, you're an outdoors person, it does help get do some walking before you go to get yourself in a little bit of sense, get those legs working.
I think the way we saw it, I really think you could enjoy Croatia however you come. You know, if you couldn't do some of the more rugged stuff, you could certainly enjoy Dubrovnik. If you were in a wheelchair, you could enjoy Dubrovnik. You could go right in and you'd have access to all the streets and things like that. My mom was in a wheelchair for the last 40 years of her life. And so one of the things I notice when I go places is sort of accessibility. And when we were at Plitvice Lakes, which is also another beautiful place to visit in the country, everything was handicap accessible there.
We saw people on wheelchairs. We saw people on bicycles. We saw people hiking. Just bring the right shoes and comfortable clothes. And
it was, you could really, I don't see any reason why, you know, you might not be able to do every activity, but there's plenty to do. You'd never be bored.
It was just amazing. And speaking of kind of this moving along, that kind of segues into the ease of travel to Croatia with all the various requirements and protocols and issues that are out there today associated with the pandemic. Did you find it easier or more challenging than you'd expected?
It was easy. At first, it was a little confusing because we have a stop on Spain. They require a certain amount of documents, and then Croatia another set of documents. So it was a bit confusing at the beginning, but on the way back, now you understand why they're doing it that way. And the test for COVID before coming back home, it was 15 minutes. It was so easy.
It's in the airport. you get your swab, and 15 minutes later they
Yeah.
give you something that says negative, and you fly home.
It was surprisingly. You don't have to be have a COVID shot. You don't have to be vaccinated in order to go there. If you aren't, you do have to present a the at least
Negative
antigen,
test
yeah, a
within 3
negative
days.
antigen test.
Yeah.
But now I had to get one because I was stopping in London, and even if you're just passing through their airport, you have to have the test. So
Correct.
I had to be tested just because I was going through London. But other than that, I think probably the easiest country. I don't know of another one that's any easier to
I
get.
think it's really, people think it's going to be more difficult than it is. Most of the stuff you did online, and you had your cell phone, and they just scanned the code that showed you'd filled out the form. I had to do one of those for Spain going, and one for Dubrovnik arriving, and then another for Spain coming, and one for the U.S. With a negative COVID test for the U.S. I would say that once you're in Dubrovnik, or once you're in Croatia, I should say, I don't think people are really having a struggle with it there at all. I don't think I ever saw anybody wearing a mask outside, and really only occasionally inside. So I think it must not really be a big issue for them right now.
Yeah, I think they've done very well, and it's just I found it so much easier than I would have expected. You fill out the locator form online, which virtually every destination is requiring these days. You know, even going to Mexico or Dominican Republic for an all-inclusive, but very easy. And so don't be deterred.
Right. Did they stamp your passport when you went? Because
They did.
Okay, we asked customs to put the stamp in there
They did,
in case it goes away.
Just to wind things up, always a good question to ask to assess just how good the vacation was. Given the opportunity, would you want to go back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would go back.
We both said that. And you mentioned something at the beginning. You said we kind of went with a bigger budget for the travel. Well, you know, we've been around a while, so we've done Europe on a shoestring, and we've done Europe a little nicer. I have to say, I would say that while our budget probably wasn't restricted by anything, Croatia's a value. We stayed in some of the nicest hotels that I've been in, and I've been in some pretty nice ones through the years, and they weren't really much more than standard fare here in the U.S.
Absolutely, and that's a good point, Dale.
Food, we live near a town called Sarasota, Florida. We spend more on dinner in Sarasota than we spent on really fine dining in Croatia. You know, I would just say Croatia is a bargain. You know, I don't think you have to break the bank to have a very, very nice vacation there.
Yeah, you can do 5-star vacation, definitely for what you would pay for. I would say 4-star, or even maybe not.
Maybe not even 4-star. You know,
not even 4-star, 3.5-star in some of the other major tourist spots. You know, France and Italy. For certain, the United Kingdom, you couldn't touch those destinations for what you can do 5-star.
Exactly.
For Croatia.
Just one last thing I would like to say about Croatia. For me, it's a place that I even consider living in, which is it's high up there in my list.
I would say
it was peaceful.
I could see it as the kind of place where you could live very, very comfortably on a modest American budget.
That's excellent. Well, guys, I have to be mindful of the clock here, but thank you so much. You've given us so much great information and insight, and I'm just delighted that the vacation met or even exceeded your expectations.
Well, a lot of that's because of you, Pat. You did a
you.
wonderful job helping us plan, and I put it all in your hands, and you did not disappoint. We had a wonderful time.
Well, I look forward to helping you with another trip one day soon. Thanks again, Angelica and Dale. It's just such a pleasure. You guys are wonderful to work with. And everybody, if you want to if you're watching live, if you will just put in the comments, I want you to just put Croatia, Croatia, in the comment section. Only if you're watching live. And somebody's going to get a $25 Olive Garden gift card. I can't get you Croatian dining here all over but we can get you a start on a meal at Olive Garden. So Croatia in the comments section if you're watching live, and you'll be entered to win. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.